Mid news. You might not need this.
Hey, welcome to Mid News. I hope you're having an incredible Friday. Let's get down to the news, shall we? Imane Khelif, the female boxer that won at the Olympics, everybody remember her. The drama with her was she was born a man or hermaphrodite. Studies showed, and articles that are out there in the country she's from, they don't mess with the LGBT community, has shown that she is 100% a woman. I believe, this is only a side note, that she has more masculine features because of her father. Think about it. If you're born anywhere else, and let's say your dad has more dominant or recessive genes, and let's say you're a girl and you get more of these masculine genes, it's probably because of your genetic gene pool, i.e. your father. So let's just remember that. But she won her match, and it just gets kind of crazy. Here's a Phil DeFranco clip to kind of take that, and this is going to be a long mid-news, so stay tuned.
Really heated up after Khelif defeated Angela Carini last week, with people quick to call Khelif's gender into question, accusing her of being trans. And this, even though there's no indication that she identifies as trans or intersex, but at the Women's World Boxing Championships last year, she was disqualified after failing an unspecified gender eligibility test, with her chromosomes reportedly making her ineligible. You also had Lin Yu-Ting of Taiwan disqualified from that event over the same test, so her Olympic status is now being dragged into this as well. So as far as where things stand now, the IOC is continuing to stand by both athletes, with its president, Thomas Bach, telling reporters on Saturday that they were both, quote, born as women and there was never any doubt about them being a woman. Adding, what we see now is that some want to own the definition of who is a woman, and allow me to say that what is going on in this context in the social media with all this hate speech, with this aggression and abuse fueled by this agenda is totally unacceptable. With the IOC also calling the test that resulted in people questioning their genders flawed. And there, we saw Bach not being the only one who called for the outcry and the attacks to end, with Khelif herself saying during an interview this weekend, "I send a message to all the people of the world to uphold the Olympic principles and the Olympic Charter, to refrain from bullying all athletes, because this has effects, massive effects. It can destroy people. It can kill people's thoughts, spirit, and mind. It can divide people." And then after she won her match this weekend, she said, "I want to tell the entire world that I am a female and I will remain a female."
That these tests had nothing to do with gender. She might have drugs. Remember, athletes, you never know. To be at the top of your game, you never know what type of drugs the athletes are taking, what type of things they're using. So prepare yourselves for the worst to be worse. But these are still fighters at the end of the day. And these are all still women at the end of the day. I think we're judging and we're looking at something from a perspective that we have no fucking clue about. So remember, stay in mind, keep your ears open, and just wait for the news and wait for until we find out. Continue. All right, we're gonna talk about the UK. Now, remember I talked about the stabbings that happened in Southport in the UK? Now, the stabbings that killed the 3 little girls, and the person that the police found was a 17-year-old UK citizen. But somehow the rumors, or maybe if it's not from the rumors, but UK nationals have been saying, like, hey, rumors were spread, but not about this, and these riots aren't happening because of the stabbings. Hopefully not, but things might be getting cross-confused, and information might be getting confused and crossed. This is why we need to evaluate our information, where we're getting it, and what's happening, because you want to make sure you get the proper information. Listen, I've been looking at this stuff for a minute, and I can say to myself, no one knows what's going on, but people think they know what's going on, which I've learned as I've been doing the news for these past couple of months now. You have to make sure you watch what you say. This is some serious shit. Here are some clips and links and other stuff to talk about this situation. There's a lot going on. I'm gonna leave a couple of clips here from BBC, Phil DeFranco, and maybe something from Twitter. If not, check the links below and watch those videos yourself. Remember, this is a short mid-news.
Far-right thuggery.
And notably, we also had the guy whose job he took, right, former PM Rishi Sunak, saying the unrest had nothing to do with the tragedy in Southport, and adding there that the police, he said, have our full support to deal with these criminals swiftly. And so with that, you also had the government there announcing that after an emergency meeting today, police will have access to a, quote, standing army of specialist officers to deal with the riots, adding to an announcement made yesterday that mosques in the country would be offered greater protection with new emergency security in light of recent attacks. These types of protests, they've come to more than a dozen cities across England and the rest of of the UK. On Saturday, for example, 35 were arrested in what's been described as a day of staggering violence in the city of Middlesbrough. And then yesterday, rioters in a town called Rotherham assaulted a hotel that's been used for housing asylum seekers, with that incident leading to at least 6 arrests as well as 12 officers being injured. And then with all that, police have reportedly arrested more than 420 people across the country so far. Dozens appearing in court today, some already pleading guilty. You've also got British Prime Minister Keir Starmer saying in a statement yesterday that those who have participated in this violence will face the full force of the law, and notably saying they would regret taking part, quote, whether directly or those whipping up this action online and then running away themselves.
The wave of disorder that swept across the UK for the last week washed into Plymouth last night. The violence was not as bad as elsewhere at the weekend, but the stretched riot police still made several arrests.
We will not accept violence on the streets here, and we are going after other people who have committed criminal offences, public order offences, and there will be further arrests today.
The rioting, which began in the aftermath of the mass stabbing in Southport, spread across England to places like Rotherham, where a hotel housing asylum seekers was targeted. There's been a concern that the violence is being incited on social media. A former senior counter-terrorism officer has pointed to Stephen Yaxley Lennon, also known as Tommy Robinson, currently in Cyprus. And the head of the Crown Prosecution Service said he'd consider extraditing anyone who met the threshold of incitement.
Now, we all know that racism still exists, and in the UK, Carrie-Anne Knight, who was part of the army or the British Armed Forces, got a taste of the racism there, or discrimination, or hazing, whatever you want to call it. This may seem to anyone else, oh, well, that's just the army being hazed or teasing, but all those things are bygone of bygone era. Like, that's part of the past. I believe that she was targeted at some form because they put her at a desk full of Amazon packages and she could barely do her work. So getting all of this type of information, if you want to watch the full video in the links below, but I feel sorry for Carrie-Anne Knight because you wanted to be part of the army, serve your country, and then you're treated this way by the color of your skin. Remember, we fought against the British to free this country, and maybe for a whole lot of reasons. Even our own army isn't the best, but at least they've gotten better when it's come to recruiting, especially of all minorities, black, Spanish, any person that you can think of in this country. So I'm glad she got her dues and they paid her. So thank you. Streamer Dr. Disrespect has kind of come back and has a bunch of cryptic tweets. I feel like the dude is farming for some type of attention. I'm not sure what's going on, but Dr. Disrespect talk about I'm playing chess and you're playing checkers. It's interesting, but at the same time, very lucrative. His talking to a minor situation has gotten the internet blown up out of proportion. I look at these situations, there's a lot of content creators have been doing some crazy stuff, especially even Cody Co, who never came out and said anything, which if he does, there's no point at this point. Let me know what you think about the whole situation in the comments below. Dr. Disrespect returning. Ukrainian troops have attacked Russia. Rare cross-border attack has hit Russia, and Ukrainian troops did this on Wednesday. It started on Wednesday.
Of Russia as a rare cross-border attack by Ukrainian troops continued on Wednesday. This is the border area where the incursion is reported to have first happened on Tuesday. Russian officials saying at least 5 civilians have been killed, 31 wounded, 6 of them children, since the start of that incursion.
Holy shit. Ukraine said, we taking it to Russia. Listen, that's something I wouldn't be doing if I was Ukraine, personally, because we know Russia, they got guns, and those guns will bang if they have to bang. I do think some troops, soldiers were like, hey, why are we attacking Ukraine? Because a lot of family members live in Ukraine, all that other stuff. But it's very, very weird that now Ukraine's attacking Russia. Woo!
We know is that fighting is still continuing. We don't even know which of the border towns and villages are controlled by Russia and which by Ukraine. The defense ministry in Moscow this morning, they said they had stopped the Ukrainians from advancing, which suggests that they're still there, they're still fighting. The pictures and videos that I've seen emerging on social media, they show destruction in towns such as Sudzha, which seems to be the focus of the fighting in Kursk region. Locals are trying to escape. They're posting videos of roads sometimes with bodies of Russian soldiers.
Israel will go to war with Hezbollah and Iran, and then at this moment, the United States has now stepped in because Iran is one of, well, our arch nemesis, what it seems to be. But we have to step in because Israel is a United States ally at the end of the day, and we have to protect and make sure things don't get out of control. So we've launched Navy ships, we've launched fighter jets, we've launched even soldiers at the border of Israel to deter Iran, to say, listen, relax.
Situation room today as the U.S. deploys additional forces to the Middle East. The Pentagon sending an aircraft carrier, warships, and an extra squadron of fighter jets to the region in one of the largest deployments since October 7th. Now, the White House says the goal is to try to deter Iran from attacking, but that if that doesn't work, those troops will help Israel to defend itself. Now, the U.S. was deeply involved in shooting down waves of Iranian missiles and drones back in April, but an Israeli official tells NBC News this time they are potentially bracing for worse.
Israel did take out a Iranian leader and a Hezbollah, I forget, last time it was a Hezbollah soldier leader. These situations have escalated, and a lot of it is Israel's fault. Since their outrageous massacre of people and their outrageous bloodshed and anger of just seeing red because of Hamas, yes, October 7th was a tragedy. Yes, October 7th, Israel struck back. At the same time, Israel struck back in a way that Palestinians cannot recover, and innocent Palestinian people are getting hurt, and it's not even just about Hamas anymore. It's about the innocent. And Israel don't see innocence. What they see is bloodshed. They say, oh, fuck this person. It's over. I'm sorry to curse, but these situations are terrible, and they're getting worse and worse. Because if Iran and Hezbollah and anybody else touch Israel, the U.S. now has to step in. Stocks have dropped. Things have gone down. And if we step into something, you know damn well who's going to step in next: China and Russia. And at that point, it's not going to be about, oh, it's us protecting Israel. It's going to be about us protecting America after that, and the foreign powers and foreign entities. Because now helping on the ally has now caused an all-out, well, it's time to shoot over here, and that's something we cannot afford as a country at this moment. Because yeah, war does increase profit, because bloodshed increases profit, and that's just money. That's how the cookie crumbles. And after that, I'm gonna let you know this: it's not looking good for Israel. It's not looking good for Hezbollah, for Iran. It is probably not even looking good for the U.S. because we don't want to escalate. But as I feel, it's gonna escalate. And if we want it not to, if we don't want war, Israel needs to stop trying to hunt Hamas. They killed the Hamas leader, and this got them into a whole pot of shit. And if the U.S. wants to back out, we could, but we're protecting a ally. But if we do back out, and Israel will get hit, because realize how many Americans have American status, live in Israel. A lot of Americans who are Jewish live in Israel that have American status. So now we are bound to protect it. It's not just like, oh, it's just a bunch of people that live there. No, some of them do have American status in this country, which makes it difficult to know who. So let me know what you think about the situation with the escalation of war through Hezbollah, through Iran, and even Lebanon, it seems like it. Hopefully, I haven't heard of Lebanon yet, but this will be an all-out front on Israel. And do you think the Americans should get involved? Listen, I understand why, but at the same time, it's looking crazy. crazy. Let me know what you think in the comments below. These situations and the news is scary. Remember, need this, you don't need this. It's part of your life, or it's happening around you. As long as you can pay your bills. My final words, and for a lot of you, I'm gonna let you know this. I have a lot to say when it comes to this. War isn't good. What's happening in the UK, what's happening to Palestine, what's happening with the US having to get involved, and now even Hezbollah having to just get involved. War, death, pain, even the immigrants that are in the UK right now. A lot of people want to change and their lives want to be different, but somehow it's not that easy. It isn't. It isn't that easy. None of this is that easy. And that's the sad part about it, is how hard is politics, war, money, immigration. So take it from someone who knows that life can be erratic, sporadic, and just by chance. You won't know what happens until it happens. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you for watching Mid News. Have an incredible weekend and a wonderful Friday night.
Mid news. You might not need this.